Hi, grade 1. Today we are going to be telling time, and yes, again, I wish we were at school so I could give you all your own little clock, but we are not, so I cannot. All right, this is a clock. Remember how we make it? 12, 6, 3, 9, and then we write the numbers. We also talked about the hands. We only have 2 hands because the second hand keeps moving. So we have the long thin hand and the short thick hand. The long thin one is the minute hand. The short thick one is called the hour hand. Now every time the hour hand is pointing right smack at a number, the minute hand will be in the same spot, and that's at the 12. When we see that this minute hand is pointing right straight up at the 12, we're going to say it's whatever number the hour hand is pointing at, o'clock. So we look at the hour hand, it's pointing at the 9. The minute hand is pointing at the 12. So if we see that this is at the 12, it's something o'clock. And it is 9 o'clock. All right, we see the minute hand is pointing right at the 12. That means the hour hand is pointing straight at a number. It's something o'clock. It's 3 o'clock. What color should I do? 3, pointing right at 3 o'clock. Only if this minute hand is pointing straight at the 12. See, it's pointing straight at the 12, so this is 6 o'clock. The minute hand is pointing straight at the 12, so the hour is pointing at the 11. It's 11 o'clock. Some clocks don't have hands. They just have numbers. So some clocks and some watches especially only show the time as numbers, and it means exactly the same. Here we have the minute hand. It's pointing at the 12, so it's o'clock. The hour hand is pointing at the 9. It's 9 o'clock. And when we do 9 o'clock in numbers, we do the hour, and then 2 dots for how many minutes. Remember I told you we start at the 12? So we start with 0. What comes after 0? 1. So when this minute hand moves a little bit farther, then it's 9 and 1 minute. And then it moves a little bit farther and farther and farther and farther, and then this number keeps changing. So when it's pointing right at the 12, it's 0 minutes. That's why we do 0. But we still say o'clock. 9 o'clock. So here we have, see the minute hand is pointing at the 12, so it's o'clock. In words we write o'clock, and in numbers we write 00. So it's o'clock. What time is it? The hour hand is pointing at the 7, so it's 7 o'clock in word, and 7 o'clock in numbers. The 7 doesn't change, whether we do the word or the numbers. Sounds the same, we write it differently. So what time is it? Okay, we see the minute hand is pointing at the 12, so it's o'clock. So we look at the hour hand, and it's pointing at the 1. So in words, it's 1 o'clock, and in numbers, it's 1 dot dot 00. Still say the same thing, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. All right, the minute hand's pointing at the 12. What time is it? It's 6 o'clock. In words, 00. In numbers. So lots of times I get grade 1s going, oh, it's 6 o'clock, and they do this. That's not right. It has to be 00 because this is actually not like that, Miss J. That time is actually there. So make sure that for 6 o'clock you do 00. What time is it? look at the hour hand. It's 11 o'clock. So you are going to have to be able to figure out how to write it both ways. So what time is this? 7 o'clock. So you can either write the word o'clock or you can write the numbers o'clock. Remember, it's 0, 0. So it's 10 o'clock, and you can either write the word, which takes forever with my, or you can write the numbers. 10, 0, 0. O'clock. You also have to be able to figure out, okay, how do I write that on the clock? So 5 o'clock. O'clock, you always have the minute hand pointing at the 12. 5 o'clock, the hour hand, short and thick, pointing at the 5. 8 o'clock. Hour hand stays the same. No, minute hand stays the same. Hour hand points at the 8. 9 o'clock. Minute hand still points at the 12. Hour hand points at the 9. 12 o'clock. Oh, it's tricky. Because the minute hand points at the 12 and the hour hand points at the 12. So anytime you do a clock, the minute hand is always pointing at the 12 and the hour hand is pointing at the number. So we're going to see what time will be in 1 hour later. So first, 2 o'clock. Well, we know minute hand is there. 2 o'clock points at the 2. What's it going to be 1 hour later? Minute hand. One more from the 2 is 3. Going to be 3 o'clock. Well, that's, 2, 3. That's just counting. 1 hour later. So we always know, see, they both end in 0. They're always going to have the minute hand pointing at the 12. 5 o'clock. 1 later than 5 is 6. 6 o'clock. 5 to 6 is 1 hour later. 9 o'clock to 1 hour later. Well, we know that they're both o'clock, so we always know that the minute hand is pointing at the 12. All right, 9 o'clock, pointing at the 9. 1 hour later is 10. 10 o'clock. This is the trickiest one. Okay, but they're both o'clock. They both end with 0, 0, so we know the minute hand is pointing at the 12. 12 o'clock. The hour hand is also pointing at the 12. See, that's the hardest one to tell the time. 1 hour later, from the 12 to the 1. Because clocks move clockwise. 1 o'clock. Whole bunch of pages. If you listen to me, you will find out you have less work to do. This takes a long time, but you have to write the time and you have to write the word o'clock. Just do it on this line. On this line and on this page, you can do it the faster way, which is by using the numbers. You're supposed to know how to do it both ways, but it takes a long time to write the word o'clock, so you don't have to, except for these 3 right here. So you look at the hour hands pointing at the 1, 1 o'clock. You look at the hour hand, it's pointing at the 4, 4 o'clock. For these ones, you can just do, this is pointing at the 10, the faster way, unless you want to write o'clock. but you can just do it the faster way, which is writing the numbers, which is 0, 0. Same thing over here. You do not have to write o'clock. You have to know that it means the same thing. But instead of writing it, you can just do it in numbers. 4 dot dot o'clock, which is 2 zeros, grade 1, not a 1 and a 2. And they didn't do the dots here. 10. I'm not going to give you all the answers. Okay, so you write the time. They're all o'clocks. For this one, you have to write the hands. So they're all o'clocks. So grade 1, all the minute hands are pointing at the 12. The hour hand is shorter and thicker. 2 o'clock. And I know every year I get grade 1s doing little arrows. But guess what happens when you put the arrows on top? It's a big mess. You don't have to do arrows, okay? Just do thin line, thicker line, 2 o'clock. And on this page, you have to do 1 more hour. So 1 more hour from 8 o'clock is 9 o'clock. 1 more hour from 3 o'clock, 1 more from 3 is 4 o'clock. Draw it on the clock and write it on the line, and then you're going to practice time to, 1 more page. Again, 1 more hour. 4 o'clock, 1 more hour is, Then you're going to do time to the hour on Splash Learn.